Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football, continuing to take a look at the next week's slate. Heading down to the state of Florida, Florida State Seminoles heading on the road to play the Florida Gators. And before we get into the matchup, taking a look at some of these key players, I do want to just offer my thoughts and prayers to Jordan Travis. This is a team that, if many of you guys have been listening, a team that I quite frankly fell in love with, right? The culture that Mike Norvell and Jordan Travis have implemented in this program, to see how far they've come from 2 years ago, 3 years ago. This team felt special. It is special to see a guy like Jordan Travis, who not only is one of the most exciting players at the college football level, but even a better guy from everything that you hear. It breaks your heart. It gives you a lump in your throat, makes this game a lot harder to talk about. And you can say a lot of the same things for Graham Mertz, who is starting to put together a really nice season for the Florida Gators. He obviously goes down with the collarbone shoulder injury, makes this game harder to talk about. It's still going to get played on Saturday. Going to get into it. Just wanted to offer my thoughts and prayers because, again, just as a college football fan, that was tough to watch Saturday night. Before we get into it, just want to say thank you to you guys. The amount of support that you guys have shown all of these game breakdowns, it truly does mean a lot. I love talking ball with you guys in the comment section. All the support you guys have shown has been amazing. If you do enjoy the content, want to support the boys, consider subscribing to the channel, and would love to hear from you guys in the comment section as well. Without further ado, let's get into it. And let's start with this Florida State offense. Without Jordan Travis, you take a look at this offense. It was putting together a phenomenal season. It seemed like this offense, any given Saturday, just kind of rolls out of bed and puts up 35 points, right? Averaging 38.3 points per game. That's number 8 in the country. 6.6 yards per play. That is also number 8 in the country. How does this Florida State offense look with Tate taking over for Jordan Travis? And the first thing that you got to say is, if there's a team that can do something about weathering the storm of losing your Heisman caliber quarterback in Jordan Travis, it does feel like the Florida State Seminoles. I mean, this is a special team with a ton of pieces on offense that you can kind of scheme up, right? At the end of the day, Florida State, with the offense and talent that they have at the skill position, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Jaheim Bell, Trey Benson, Lawrence Tuafili, like, there's a ton of talent that they can just kind of lean on as they get Tate and his feet wet in this offense. And he's played a lot of games. I mean, one good thing for Florida State is, even going back to last year, comes in when Jordan Travis goes out and leads them to a victory against Louisville. Tate can win games. I don't think there's many teams, and you talk about what the coaches have been saying. They believe they can win this game with Tate at quarterback. It's going to look a little bit different. I think you're going to have to lean on some of your playmakers around the quarterback. The good thing for Florida State is they have the playmakers. And the first thing you want to talk about is getting that run game going, averaging 4.7 yards per carry. That's 32nd in the country. Trey Benson, Lawrence Tuafili, both averaging over 6 yards per carry. The key to this game is getting the run game going against a Florida Gators defense that has really struggled to stop the run, allowing 5.3 yards per carry. That is 125th in the country. They obviously lost their starting linebacker in Shamar James a couple of weeks ago. This is a defense that has struggled at the point of attack. And this Florida State offensive line, as critical as we've been on this offensive line in recent weeks, it's going to have to elevate its game. And one thing that is special about the sport of college football, sometimes when you got to rely on some other guys, they step up. In this offensive line, to get Tate comfortable, I think having a run game is going to be absolutely massive. For Florida State to have success on the road here with a new starting quarterback, getting Trey Benson, Lawrence Tuafili loose against a Florida Gators front seven that has been very, very bad the last couple of weeks is going to be massive. And then you look at the pass defense at Florida, 8.9 yards per pass attempt. They're giving up the explosive play very easily. It's been a disappointing Florida Gators defense. Like, it started out, it looked great against Tennessee early, but the last couple weeks, I mean, Austin Armstrong's a young defensive coordinator. You can tell there's just a lot of, it's a young defense with a young defensive coordinator, and it has struggled the last couple weeks. You got to figure out a way to get the ball into Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, Jaheim Bell's hands. You have these wide receivers that can really make stuff happen in space, and they can make stuff happen when it's not in space either. When you're just throwing the football up and letting a guy like Keon Coleman make a play, That's kind of what you're going to have to do. And if you're Alex Atkins in this Florida State offense, yeah, you have a downgrade at quarterback, right, with Tate. That being said, you have a ton of playmakers to lean on. Get the run game going, get the football to your playmakers in space, and there's a chance Florida State's offense can move the ball against a Florida Gators defense that really has struggled the last couple weeks. Now, flipping the side, Florida Gators also replacing their starting quarterback in Graham Mertz, and Max Brown, seen a little bit less of him than we have seen Tate. For Florida, you're looking to get that run game going. I mean, it's been kind of the identity of this Florida Gators offense. The only problem is the offensive line extremely banged up. I mean, Etienne is running the ball next level. I think he's one of the best running backs in that SEC conference. You're going to have to lean on some of your playmakers and kind of modify the offense a little bit. Again, similar to Florida State, this is a game that it's a massive game. You're going up against a very, very good defense in Florida State. You have a new quarterback. You have to rely on some of the playmakers on the outside. Eugene Wilson, been one of the more electric players in all of college football as a true freshman, would expect to have a heavy dose of it. I mean, you're playing for a bowl game appearance. There is no chips that you're leaving not on the table. You're pushing them all in. If you have plays to get Trey Wilson the ball in space, you have to use those plays. Getting ETN in space, Montrell Johnson, that's going to be the key. And if you're Florida State on defense, you're looking to dominate the point of attack. I mean, Florida, Austin Barber, sounds like he's not going to play. Damian George, the other tackle, not going to play. This offensive line has struggled when healthy, now very banged up. If you're Florida State, you're Jared Verse, and you're Patrick Payton, and you're Fabian, like, this is a game that you want to dominate. You take a look at Florida State on defense, and a lot of the hype goes to that Florida State offense and how prolific it's been, top 10 in the country. This Florida State defense only giving up 17.9 points per game. That is ninth in the country. And this defense has been really good, and I think it starts with this front seven, Jared Verse, NFL caliber guy, Patrick Payton. You have a ton of guys on the inside that you can rotate in and out. For Florida State, on the defensive side of the ball, you're looking to overwhelm a Florida Gators offensive line that, one, hasn't been good, and then two, is now banged up. And you look at the back end, I don't think Florida is going to try to test this secondary. And this secondary, again, something that not a lot of people are talking about, is a 47% completion percentage given up. That is number one in the country. I mean, Jerry and Jones, Renardo Green, Fentrell Cypress, Shaheem Brown, it's been nails. Even against passing offenses that can get it going, the windows are extremely tight. How much does Billy Napier and this offensive staff trust Max Brown to push the ball down the field into throwing windows that are not going to be there? And then second part is, do they trust pass protection? Pass protection has been a problem all year for the Florida Gators. I mean, they're getting sacked on 8.3% of dropbacks. That's 104th in the country. They've given up over 100 pressures on the year. You're going up against NFL quality edge rushers in Jared Verse and Patrick Payton, one of the best blitzing linebackers in the country in Kalen DeLoach. So how much does Florida want to trust Max Brown to push the football down the field to a secondary that's been elite and a pass rush that can really get after with an offensive line that struggled? Kind of some of those keys to the game. Getting to the pick here. Florida State coming in, this line before Jordan Travis went down with the injury was sitting around 11.5. Almost a 7-point swing. Florida State now on the road, only favored by 6 points. I'm going to rock with Florida State. I think both of these teams playing with backup quarterbacks, you trust Florida State to win this big game because, quite frankly, and I think a lot of Florida Gator fans would agree with this, when the moment is big and it's time to go make a play against Missouri or against Arkansas, the Florida Gators just haven't been able to do it. You look at Florida State, it's the complete opposite. When the moment's big, when the chips are pushed in the middle of the table, this Florida State team is coming up with plays. And I think they're a little bit more talented on the offensive side of the ball in terms of letting their quarterback lean on that offensive talent as opposed to the Florida Gators. And I trust that Florida State defense a hell of a lot more than I trust the Florida Gators defense. Going to rock with Florida State. Want to take one more second to talk about Florida State in the college football playoffs if they run the table. And we'll talk about this, I think, later on in the week. Absolutely asinine that people are insinuating that if Florida runs the table, goes undefeated, wins the ACC championship, that they're getting left out. And this is coming from a Michigan fan. If the Michigan Wolverines lose against Ohio State and have one loss, and the argument is a one-loss Michigan team versus an undefeated Florida State team, that won an ACC title. As much as I love my Michigan Wolverines, I'm certainly not going to get up here and argue that Michigan should be in the college football playoffs over Florida State. Even if Michigan would be the favorite in that game on a neutral site, how are you going to take the opportunity from Florida State away, winning every single game on their schedule, to put in a team that's lost the game? To me, that conversation that I've been seeing on Twitter, absolutely asinine. And again, coming from a Michigan fan, we don't plan on losing against Ohio State, but if we do, you're not going to see me get up and say Michigan deserves to be in the college football playoffs over an undefeated Florida State team. At the end of the day, Florida State still a lot in front of them. Breaks your heart about Jordan Travis. Breaks your heart about Graham Mertz too. I don't want to kind of ignore that. Both of them have been playing phenomenal football for their respective schools. Still going to be a great game. Still a rivalry game. A lot of emotions in this one. Appreciate you guys rocking with the fellas again. This one, difficult to talk about, but the game's going to get played on Saturday. Wanted to talk about it. Appreciate you guys. If you do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later.